Hi, gentlemen, we're live.
Oh, she's see over here.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't mind. This one, I get a Zoom link for the next board meeting. I've got to be out of town on business.
Okay. Yes, you may. Let me go get my notepad.
Here that day. Big test. It's all the same base. Yeah. Really good night. Well placed. Yeah.
like to call to order this budget work session and closeout meeting of the Grayson County Board of Supervisors. I'd like to welcome everyone here. And we'll go ahead and get started and open the invocation and the pledge of allegiance.
Let's pray. Father, thank you for the beautiful day that's been given today. Thank you for this board that has served so faithfully through this year. Now we're to the end of it. Pray that you'll be with them in this closeout meeting, and looking forward to another successful year in Grayson County coming up. Just be with each one. What you do. We'll praise your name. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Everyone has a copy of the thing on the agenda. Move on to entertaining a motion to approve the agenda, consent agenda. So moved. Have a second? Second. Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Chair also aye. We have a new business resolution, Dixie Road, amend notice of intent to abandon. What? Heavy?
Thank you. I appreciate you being able to add me to the agenda. That's just kind of a push. And I wanted to explain myself as to the reason that why are we amending this. I submitted to VDOT, Mark Williams, on the 8th of June, the resolution that was signed by the Board of Supervisors. He then submitted it to VDOT's engineering, land use development, John Bowling. It was under Mr. Bowling's site that he realized that we had some inadequate language in our resolution. Since then, I've been given templates on how these resolutions VDOT wants them to look. So I have gone back and we have revisited it, and we're submitting it to you with the amended wording that they would like to have. In addition to the advertisement that we notify our public in the paper with also has to match the same language as the resolution. So that is the reason that I'm back here this evening to ask for an amendment to the resolution that was already adopted. And I'll be glad to read that if I might.
Just for the record, if you don't mind.
All right, so notice of intent to abandon a portion of Route 756 from the secondary system of state highways. Whereas it appears to this board that secondary Route 756 from Route 763 to Route 701, a distance of 0.602 miles, serves no public necessity and is no longer necessary as part of the secondary system of state highways. Now therefore it be resolved, the clerk of the board is directed to post and publish notice of the board's intent to abandon the aforesaid section of Route 756 pursuant to section 33.2909 of the Code of Virginia as amended. Be it further resolved, a certified copy of the resolution be forwarded to the Commissioner of the Virginia Department of Transportation, adopted by the Grayson County Board of Supervisors on the 26th day of June 2023. This measure was adopted upon the following vote of the board.
Mr. Frank?
I'm a little confused. Because I thought at the last board meeting, we decided not to abandon it because the public spoke and there was concern about process. And now it looks like we are going forward with the abandonment.
This is Dixie Road,
Yeah,
not
that was Camden.
Thank you. That's why I was confused.
The reason they wanted to basically also, in addition to that, they've attached a map to the resolution now,
I'm straight.
so that when it gets adopted, people can go back and visually see what was actually abandoned. So they wanted some clarification.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, is this a procedural thing that's changed, or have we been doing it wrong all along?
Honestly, yes, we've been advertising incorrectly. Yeah. Luckily, we've not gone any further than, like, say, for instance, Greenhouse. There was adjoining landowners. It's come to my attention this last month that 33.2-909 of the Code of Virginia says that anyone that is an adjoining landowner may request a public hearing. Not just anyone can ask for a public hearing. We've been advertising that way for a very, very long time and hadn't changed the process. So now I know, but it was brought to my attention through Mr. Bowling at the Commonwealth Transportation. So not just anyone, we'll have to remember that, can ask for a public hearing. It has to be an abutting property owner. So in this case for Dixie, the abutting property owners are Mr. Elliott and Ms. West. There are no other abutting property owners. So therefore there should not be a request for public hearing. But I do have to re-advertise in the paper so that it meets the resolution requirements. Once we hold that 30-day resolution, or once we hold that 30 days and we don't hear for a public hearing, then you'll get another resolution for a final that will just be a resolution to abandon, not the intent to abandon.
Okay, so then back to the Camp Dickinson thing. Does that mean we need to redo that one because the process wasn't?
We did.
Okay.
And there are no abutting land.
Is the board okay with me having a conversation with Anthony Gomez, the director, and explaining what I have since learned?
Yeah.
I think it's,
That seems like the right thing to do.
Fair and proper.
It was told to us by VDOT that if anyone had
I
an
know.
adverse opinion of that, but it has to be an abutting landowner.
So
Uh,
is the abutting landowner the only one that can have the adverse objection?
Yeah. It says if one or more landowners, and this is directly out of the Code of Virginia, if one or more landowners in the county whose property abuts the highway, landing, or railroad crossing proposed to be abandoned, or if only a section of a highway, landing, or railroad crossing is proposed to be abandoned, whose property abuts such section, or the Board of Department of Wildlife Resources, in this case of a public landing, files a petition with the governing body of the county within 30 days after notice is posted and published as provided in this section, the governing body of the county shall hold a public hearing on the proposed abandonment and shall give notice of time and place of the hearing by publishing such information in at least 2 issues of the newspaper having general circulation in the county.
So
I was educated, did not know that. We'd always done it. So based on,
anybody,
and I'll be honest with you, prior to Camp Dickinson's meeting that night, we had actually heard from 2 of the VDOT staff. Anyone was used again, anyone.
well, I appreciate your transparency on this. My next question, is there some sense of urgency that we had this included in the budget meeting?
It would push her out all the way into September, and she was ready to start the erosion and sediment control process with New River Soil and Water. They were going to help her mitigate that erosion that was happening.
Right.
And she'd already gotten an excavator. So with 30-day window that we have to advertise, it was gonna push her all the way in to September by the time the resolutions went through the process. So that's the reason for me to kind of sneak in here today, to try to get, I felt responsible in a way that, because of this incorrect wording.
And we,
Otherwise,
and
it'd
the
be
end
a
result,
special
the
call.
end result's gonna be the same, we think. So we're just trying to help the landowner out
By trying to expedite it.
by trying to expedite.
Anyone else?
Make a motion, we approve the resolution.
Have a second? Mr. Bill. All in favor? Any more discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Chair also aye. Okay, this will be a roll call, sorry. Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Fan?
Aye.
Mr. Ivy? Aye. Mr. Belton? Chair also aye.
Thank you.
This is the end of year FY 23 budget amendments and transfers. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Resolution, amendment to local holiday schedule.
This, Mr. Chair, this was brought to our attention that the state has changed. And actually, the clerk of court brought it down, and the judge and them were already aware of it and are ready to do that, do this. But the judge requires, he wants to see a resolution, and that's the way we've done it in the past. So that's what this resolution is. Considering those same 3 days that the state will be. Would you like the resolution to be read?
Is that the pleasure of the board? Okay, go ahead.
The Grayson County Board of Supervisors amendment to the 2000, and we're going to change that 2023 local holiday schedule. Whereas
2016 was the, I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's the original. It's an amendment to the original.
Oh,
Yes.
amendment to the, okay,
Yes.
sorry, amendment to the original, okay. Sorry about that. Amendment to the 2016 local holiday schedule, whereas the County of Grayson recognizes various federal, state, and local holidays within each calendar year, and whereas the Grayson County Board of Supervisors has the authority to set the local holiday schedule for the observance of federal, state, and local holidays to be recognized and observed within the County of Grayson, Virginia, and whereas from time to time, the board may choose to amend the local holiday schedule and grant additional time for the observance of holidays. Whereas it is desirable to accommodate a consistent holiday schedule when possible with the county departments, local, state offices, constitutional offices, and court services operating on behalf of the county and serving its citizens. Now therefore be it resolved that the Grayson County Board of Supervisors does hereby amend 2016 local holiday schedule and grant additional days of observance as follows. Monday, July 3rd, 2023, full-day closing. Tuesday, December 26th, 2023, full-day closing. Tuesday, January 2nd, 2024, full-day closing adopted this 26th day of June 2023 in the County of Grayson.
Have a motion to adopt the resolution. So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, this is it's still gonna be closed a half day, those, like, day before Christmas or.
That's already part of the original schedule. The Friday before Christmas was it's
So
already scheduled.
We're just correcting the date here, right? Because is that what it is each year? We just correct the date of the.
This day, because of how they fall, the state looks at it sometimes and they'll do additional days. And that's, in this case, is what's being looked at.
So for example, Christmas on Sunday, we're granting one day in place.
Saturday and Sunday, then they'll change the schedule up. And this is just one of those times that because of the way things are falling, this is for the state. The judge asked to just be put to resolutions, and once it is, then he will declare it also.
Any further discussion?
I just want to point out, we are observing the federal calendar, federal law, federal calendar. There's some discussion about our abilities to when it comes to federal. That's all I have.
All in favor, signify by saying, this will be a resolution, right?
It is a resolution.
Roll call. Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Fan? Aye. Mr. Ivy? Aye. Mr. Bell? Chair also aye. Now, end of year 23 budget amendments and transfers.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say, before we turn it over to Ms. Gayhart, she and Ms. Edwards have been working hard on this. She's been working, Nikki's been working hard since she came into the office. And all day today, they've kept their door shut to prepare for this meeting. And this is Mrs. Gayhart's final closeout meeting before she retires. And she always does a tremendous job on this. And I know she'll do the same again today.
If you look at your memo, page 3, that's what we'll focus on. It says budget adjustments at the top of the landscape page. This one. I think we do very well this year, even with the inflation. The way it came in, I think we did very well in holding our budget within its boundaries. You'll see that we did have to make some adjustments.
Are you on the unanticipated revenues at the
Yes,
Next
page
page.
3, the next page.
budget? All right, try.
Okay, as you can see, on the amounts that we're requesting be adjusted, those are amounts, that need to be, up adjusted, and then the, 2 negative amounts are the 2 that need to be down adjusted. So we're taking from one line item that wasn't expended and to cover the other line items that went a little bit over. If you have any specific questions, let me know about those. The only transfer request we have at the end of the year is the $310,000 to be invested in the broadband fund.
Any questions?
Good.
Okay. Have a motion. To adopt the adjustments.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Chair also aye. Next is approve the budget for FY 23-24 by resolution.
I've got the resolution when you're ready.
Okay.
A resolution adopting the budget for the county of Grayson, Virginia for the fiscal year of July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024, appropriating funds for all the contemplated expenses of the county for the fiscal year and placing levies upon all real estate, personal property, machinery and tools, merchants' capital, and all other levies and fees as previously imposed or modified by the board. Whereas pursuant to the Chapter 25 of Title 15.2 of the Code of Virginia, the Grayson County Board of Supervisors has prepared a budget for this county setting forth contemplated expenses, aggregate amount to be appropriated for the current year, and whereas the notice and publication and synopsis to the same were published in the newspaper of general circulation in Grayson County, Virginia, and at least one public hearing was held at least 7 days prior to the approval of the budget as provided by the Section 15.2-2506 of the Code of Virginia, and now therefore be resolved and enacted by the board after due notice, public hearing, and mature consideration of the said budget, that the attached budget be and is hereby adopted as the budget of the County of Grayson for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2023 and ending June 30th, 2024. Now therefore be further resolved and enacted that there is hereby a levy tax of 54 cents on each $100 of assessed value of real estate improvements situated therein in the county, and a tax of $2.25 per $100 on assessed value of tangible personal property, and a fee of $25 per vehicle assessed by the county, segregated pursuant to the Title 15.2, Chapter 25 of the Code of Virginia, and amendments thereto, including tangible personal property of public utilities located and doing business within the county and upon all the property subject to taxation by the county, and herein otherwise provided for. A tax of $1.75 per 100 of assessed value on machinery and tools, and $6.70 per 100 of assessed value on merchant capital. Now therefore be it resolved and enacted by the board that all other assessments, taxes, and fees previously imposed by the county unless repealed or again levied, assessed, and imposed as set forth previously by the board, and shall remain in force and effect until changed by the board. This resolution of the board shall be effective July the 1st, 2023, adopted the 26th day of June, 2023 in the County of Grayson, Virginia.
Have a motion?
I'll make a motion. We approve the budget.
Second. Any discussion?
If I may, Mr. Chair, if you would indulge me, I just want to share a story with you. I got your permission to do so. I'm gonna read this. I'm not real good at reading. I'm much better at talking. But I want to share this story with you guys, and this is the basis of my decision. But it's a story about Davy Crockett that served 4 terms in the U.S. Congress from 1827 to 1835. In 1835, he joined the Whig Party and ran a failed attempt for presidency. Immediately thereafter, he departed his native Tennessee for Texas to secure the independence of the Texans, and he lost his life at the Battle of the Alamo and forever secured his legendary status in history as King of the Wild Frontier. Now, this following story that I'm going to read you is a recount by Edward Ellis and an unnamed congressman who served with Colonel Crockett in the U.S. House of Representatives. Crockett was then considered, and I'm starting the story, was then considered the Lion of Washington. I was a great admirer of his character, and having several friends who were intimate with him and found no difficulty in making his acquaintance. I was fascinated with him, and he seemed to take fancy to me. I was one day in the lobby of the House of Representatives when a bill was taken up appropriating money for the benefit of a widow of a distinguished naval officer. It seemed to be that everybody favored it. The speaker was just about to put the question when Crockett arose, and everybody expected, of course, that he was going to make a speech in support of the bill, and he commenced. Mr. Speaker, I have much respect for the memory of the deceased and as much sympathy for the sufferings of the living, if suffering there be as any man in this house. But we must not permit our respect for the dead or our sympathy for a part of the living to lead us into an act of injustice to the balance of the living. I will not go into argument to prove that Congress has no power under the Constitution to appropriate this money as an act of charity. Every member upon this floor knows it. We have the right as individuals to give as much money of our own as we please in charity. But as members of Congress, we have no right to do so and appropriate a dollar of public money. Mr. Speaker, I am the poorest man on this floor. I cannot vote for this bill, but I will give 1 week's pay to object. And if every member of Congress will do the same, it'll amount to more than the bill asked for. He took his seat. No one replied. The bill was put on its passage, and instead of passing unanimously, it was generously opposed. And in no doubt, had it been for that speech, it was received but a few votes and was lost. Like many others, I desired the passage of the bill, and I felt outraged at its defeat. I determined that I would persuade my friend, Mr. Crockett, to move for reconsideration the next day. Previous engagements preventing me from seeing Crockett that night, I went early to his room the next morning and found him franking letters, a large pile of which lay upon his table. I broke in upon him rather abruptly by asking him what the devil had possessed him to make that speech and defeat that bill yesterday. Without turning his head and looking up from his work, he replied, I will answer your question, but thereby hangs a tale, one of considerable length to which you will have to listen. I listened to this tale which I heard. Several years ago, I was one evening standing on the steps of the Capitol with some other members of Congress when our attention was attracted by a great light over in Georgetown. It was evidently a large fire. We jumped into the hack and drove over as fast as we could. And this is Crockett speaking. When we got there, I went to work. I worked as never as hard in my life as I did for several hours. But in spite of all the work to be done, many houses were burned and many families made homeless. And besides, some of them had lost out but the clothes they had on. The weather was very cold, and when I saw so many women and children suffering, I felt something ought to be done for them. And everybody else seemed to feel the same way. The next morning, a bill was introduced appropriating $20,000 for their relief. We put aside all other business and rushed it through as soon as it could be done. I said everybody felt as I did. That was not quite so. For though they perhaps sympathized as deeply with the sufferers as I did, there was a few members who did not think we had the right to indulge our sympathy or excite our charity as expense of anybody's but ourselves. They opposed the bill and upon its passage demanded the yeas and nays. In other words, a roll call vote. The yeas and nays were recorded and my name appeared on the journals in favor of the bill. The next summer, when it began time to think about election, I concluded I would take a scout around among the boys of my district, and I had no opposition there. But as the election was some time off, I did not know what might turn up, and I thought it was best to let the boys know that I had not forgotten them, and that going to Congress had not made me too proud to go see them. So I put a couple of shirts and a few twists of tobacco in my saddlebag and put out. I had been out about a week and had found things going very smoothly when riding one day in the part of my district which I was more of a stranger than any other. I saw a man in the field plowing and coming toward the road. I gauged my gait so that he would meet as he came to the fence. As he came up, I spoke to the man. He replied politely, but as I thought, rather coldly, and was about turning his horse for another furrow, when I said to him, don't be in such a hurry, my friend. I want to have a little talk with you and get better acquainted. He replied, I'm very busy and I have but little time to talk. But if it does not take too long, I will listen to what you have to say. I began, well, friend, I'm one of those fortunate beings called candidates. And yes, he said, I know who you are. You're Colonel Crockett. I've seen you once before, and I voted for you the last time you were elected. I suppose you are out electioneering now, but had better not waste your time on mine. I shall not vote for you again." This was a gut punch. I begged him to tell me what was the matter. "Well, Colonel, it's hardly worthwhile to waste time or words upon it. I do not see how it can be mended. But if you gave me your vote last winter, what shows that either you have not capacity to understand the Constitution, or that wanting the honesty and firmness to be guided by it? In either case, you're not the man to represent me. I beg your pardon expressing it that way. I did not intend to avail myself of the privilege of a constituent to speak plainly to a candidate for the purpose of insulting or wounding you. I intend by it to say that your understanding of the Constitution is very different from mine. I will say to you what, but for my rudeness, I shall not have said. That I believe you to be honest, but an understanding of the Constitution is different from mine. I cannot overlook, because the Constitution, to be worth anything, must be sacred and rigidly observed in all of its provisions. The man who wields the power and misinterprets it is more dangerous the more honest he is. I admit the truth of all you say, but there must be some mistake about it, for I do not remember that I gave any vote last winter upon the Constitution question. No, Colonel, there's no mistake. Though I live here in the backwoods and seldom go from home, I take the papers from Washington and read very carefully the proceedings of Congress. My papers say that last winter you voted for a bill to appropriate $20,000 to some sufferers by a fire in Georgetown. Is that true? Certainly it is. I thought it was the last vote which anyone in the world would have found fault with. Well, Colonel, where do you find in the Constitution any authority to give away public money for charity? This was another gut punch. For when I began to think about it, I could not remember a thing in the Constitution that authorized it. I found a mistake. I found it must take another tack, so I said, "Well, my friend, I may as well own up. You have got me there, but certainly nobody will complain that a great and rich country like ours should give the insignificant sum of $20,000 to relieve women and children, particularly with a full and overflowing treasury. And I'm sure if you had been there, you would have done just as I did. It is not the amount, Colonel, that I complain of. It's the principle. In the first place, the government ought to have been in the treasury no more than enough for its legitimate purposes. But if it has nothing to do with the question, the power of collecting and dispersing money at pleasure is most dangerous power that can be entrusted to man, particularly under our system of collecting revenue by taxes and reaching every man in the country. No matter how poor he may be, the poorer he is, the more he pays in proportion to his means. What is it worth? It presses upon him without his knowledge where the weight centers. For it is not the man of the United States who can ever guess how much he pays to the government. So you see that while we are contributing to relieve one, you are drawing it from thousands who are even worse than he. If you had the right to give anything, the amount simply a matter of discretion with you, and you had as much right to give 20 million as you did 20,000. If you have the right to give one, you have the right to give all. And as the Constitution neither defines charity nor stipulates the amount, you are at liberty to give any and everything you believe or possess to believe is charity, and to any amount you may think proper. You will very easily perceive what a wide door is open for fraud and corruption and favoritism on the one hand, and for robbing people on the other hand. No, Colonel, Congress has no right to give charity. Individual members may give as much of their own money as they please, but they have no right to touch a dollar of public money for that purpose. There are about 240 members of Congress, and if they had shown their sympathy for the sufferers by contributing each one a week's pay, it would have made over 13,000. There are plenty of wealthy men in Washington who would have given $20,000 without depriving themselves of any luxury. The congressman chose to keep their own money, of which, if reports are true, some of them spend not very credibly. The people about Washington no doubt applauded you for relieving them of the necessity of giving them what is not yours. The people have delegated to Congress by the Constitution the power to do certain things. To do these is authorized to collect and pay monies for nothing else. Everything beyond this is usurpation of and violation of the Constitution. I have given you, continued Crockett, an imperfect account of what he said. Long before it was through, I was convinced that I had done wrong. He wound up by saying, so you see, Colonel, you violated the Constitution, what I consider a vital point. It is precedent fought with danger to the country. When the Congress once begins to stretch its power beyond the limits of the Constitution, there is no limit to it, no security for the people. I have no doubt you have acted honestly, but that does not make it any better, except as far as you are personally concerned. And you see, I cannot vote for you. I tell you, I felt streaked. I have an opposition, and this man should go on talking. He set out to others talking in the district, and I would be gone like a fawn skin. I could not answer him, and the fact is, I was so fully convinced he was right. I did not want to, but I must satisfy him. And I said to him, well, my friend, you hit the nail on the head. And when you said I had not sense enough to understand the Constitution, I intended to be guided by it and thought it be studied fully. I have heard many speeches in Congress, but what you have said gives me more education as it relates to the Constitution. What you have said here by your plow has got more hard, sound sense in it than all the fine speeches I have ever heard. If I have ever taken a view of it that you have, I would have put my head to the fire, to the fire before I would have given a vote. If you would forgive me and vote for me again, if I ever vote for another unconstitutional law, I wish I may be shocked. And I just want to share that with you as the basis of my vote that I'm getting ready to give for this budget. Needless to say, Crockett didn't vote that way after this constituent pointed that out. And I know here, and we just talked briefly before I came in, and I know we're giving some money to the airport, which I learned this past year we're required to give X amount of dollars, but it seems like we're going over that by about 17,000 roughly. For community and local support, which is charity, we're around 121,000, which this is just a rough estimate of 138,000. And I'm sure, I could have dug a little deeper, but I had pushed really hard for the last 2 years to get us to eliminate the $25 car tax fee. And for 2 years in a row, that's been unsuccessful. That would help our taxpayers. In light of that, and I'm going to say that I kind of, by no means am I Davy Crockett. I don't want to give that. And I've voted and made mistakes, I guess, like we all have, if we could take some things back. But moving forward, that's the basis of how I'm going to view these things, is because we are dealing with people's money and we can't take that lightly. And I know that I've been a part of voting for things that probably would be going against what I just read to you. So that's why I'm going to vote no today. And I felt like I needed to give an explanation of that. And this is no condemnation of anyone who does not vote no. This is just where I'm at. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. That's right.
Yeah, first of all, thanks to the staff, and Lisa, I know you're gonna miss budget session in your future life, so you're welcome to come back anytime. Thanks again for everybody's work. Just some observations from my standpoint. I think my take on this year's budget is it's a forward-looking document, and I think it's investing in services that the citizens have asked for, and I think we're doing it in a pretty predictable way. The most predictable way initially is that the levy is remaining the same, which it was from last year, which I think helps not only the individual, but also the county anticipate upcoming challenges. It also invests, I think, in our first responders. We've debated over the last couple of years, given the challenges we have on volunteerism and sustaining our all-volunteer force. We've made some investments in the rapid response capability at the county level, but at the same time, we've made investments in incentives to help recruit volunteers and sustain and retain the ones that are already there. And I think that's really important to highlight to them, as well as continuing to support what the Sheriff's Department is doing and keeping the county safe. One of the biggest things that we've done last year that we've been able to sustain this year is the investment we've made in our recreation department. I mean, it's pretty phenomenal what Keith Weatherman and Dylan have done up there at the park and what they're expanding in the county. And I think that's really positive for the overall achievement of one of the goals of the comprehensive plan, which is wellness for our citizens. And so I'm very proud of that. And then the other piece, there's two other pieces that we've also sustained: the commitment to communication infrastructure. That's been a goal of ours for a long time. And as the broadband effort continues to expand and we look to bring in mobile and communications, which will also enhance our 911 capability, I think it's a wise investment with public funds for the infrastructure we need to be able to continue to achieve that three-prong goal. And lastly, it's the sustainment that we've made to our public education, specifically the schools. I think we've done some things as a result of the federal funding that we've been able to have to be able to set a condition that allows for the investment in infrastructure for the schools going in the out years and allow them to address a lot of issues that have bubbled up over the while. So I'm very happy that we're able to sustain that. So in closing, I guess it's just because of the investment and the effort that we put into this, I think we're setting the conditions for the future to continue to support the comprehensive plan, which is really what's driving our efforts and what our job is here on the board of supervisors. So, thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Becker. Mr. Becker.
And I'm like Lisa, this is my last budget. And I always read budget season, but as Mr. Crockett was giving away money because he felt like he needed to. If all these things that we give money to, if we didn't, they wouldn't survive. If we can put $200 in, they can put $800 in and make their food baskets, whatever it is, work. It's a win-win, my opinion. So, I wish Crocker had come along with the welfare system and wouldn't have used that so bad. But that's the way where I'm going to vote, is that if these people didn't have some help, they may not survive and we wouldn't have it.
I'd just like to say thank you to the staff. I know it's been a challenge working and as we try to outpace inflation. And I'm really happy that we can hold the line on the levy. And we are trying to make some headway toward assisting our rescue squads and fire departments in this budget. Trying to finance and help them with apparatus and equipment and try to address some of their needs. That to me is, as we look at providing services for our county, strengthening our fire departments and our rescue squads and our public safety is critical. I mean, those are services that our citizens expect and demand from us. And, when they call, they want someone there, they want response. And I'm glad we can in this budget do a little bit, to help them in that effort. And again, thank y'all for your hard work, trying to make the numbers come out. All right. With that, this being a resolution, be a roll call vote. Mr. Anderson?
No.
Mr. Fan?
Aye.
Mr. Ivey?
Aye.
Mr. Bell? Chair also aye. I don't know whether to go ahead with this next. The next item on the agenda will be a proclamation. And on behalf of the Board of Supervisors, it is indeed an honor for me to be able to present this proclamation. Read it here in a minute. I've had the opportunity of working with Ms. Gayhart for a lot of years, Sheriff's Office, and I can attest to her work ethic and willingness to always be a part of the team and to help accomplish whatever goal was set before us. I know the Sheriff's Office, when I worked there, running a lot more smoothly, and there was a lot of dependence put in Ms. Gayhart's organization and skills and budgeting skills, and I count her as an honor to call you friend, co-worker, and I'm excited for you as you go forward in this next phase of your life. Retirement's a good thing. I think you're going to enjoy it.
You approve?
I approve it. But I guess I'll go ahead and read this proclamation. Proclamation of the Grayson County Board of Supervisors in recognition and appreciation of Lisa A. Gayhart. Whereas the Grayson County Board of Supervisors recognizes Lisa A. Gayhart for her long and distinguished service to the fine citizens of Grayson County, Virginia. And whereas the Grayson County Board of Supervisors also wishes to recognize and acknowledge that Ms. Gayhart has served Grayson County and its fine citizens since April of 2011 as the Director of Finance within the Office of the County Administration, and furthermore deeply appreciates her lasting commitment and dedication. And whereas during Ms. Gayhart's long tenure in public service, she has worked for numerous board members, department heads, 3 county administrators, to include the Honorable Jonathan D. Sweet, the Honorable William L. Shepley, and the Honorable Stephen A. Boyer. And whereas her expertise in financial management, her passion for the county, and her genuine care for people has immensely benefited the office of the county administrator, the county of Grayson, and all those who have been served or have come in contact with Ms. Gayhart for more than 12 years. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Grayson County Board of Supervisors recognizes and commends Ms. Lisa A. Gayhart on her long and distinguished service to the Grayson County within the office of the county administrator, and we extend to her the best wishes of happiness in her retirement and all her future endeavors. Adopted this 26th day of June 2023 in the county of Grayson.
Whose idea was this? Because I'm gonna know who's in trouble.
If I could, I'll get all the board members to come up here.
Lisa, come on up.
I want to get up here.
I'm gonna do it in the front.
Front here, okay, all right. Okay, you're right here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How was my hair?
Thanks.
It was lovely.
Thanks for answering my phone call.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much.
Well, you earned it.
These people make me cry.
And I want to thank you for answering all my questions with patience. Many questions. I know you're not going to miss them.
Action with that. Okay. This, next, item on the agenda will be, motion to adjourn. So moved.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Chair also aye. Thank you all. Anybody's bored this
I guess we'll see you next fiscal year.
Happy new fiscal year.
Happy New